What's up, everyone? Gojin the Makai Phantom approaching ya, and today we're gonna talk about Scream. You're probably thinking, Gojin, why are you reviewing Scream so late? And a Fast Break Theater review, no less. Well, that's an easy answer. Those who follow me on social media, are in my Discord server, or simply saw the scheduled Galactic Nerd Outpost episode in their feed, would know it was planned, but nobody else who joins for my podcast were able to find it in themselves to go see it. So I'm stuck here alone giving my thoughts on it in the first Fast Break Theater review episode since 2020, as the film is still available in most movie theaters and doesn't even have a physical release yet, so I figured why the fuck not. But how is Scream? I really wish they would have got more creative. Shit, even a fucking number would have been fine. I don't get it what's with these requels feeling the need to have the same exact name as the original entries. Taking place 25 years after the Woodsboro murders, a young woman is hospitalized by yet another Ghostface killer. Only difference is this one went with similar tactics to that of the original killers, Billy and Stu. But things start to get real crazy when the target is none other than the offspring of Billy's very few people knew about. However, the new killers seem to have an idea of her secrets, so to solve the mystery, the original crew get involved to find who's responsible behind these and why do they know what they do. Based off my two viewings, I'd say that the story is pretty decent. Now, I'm not gonna say it sets a whole new standard for what a requel should be, but I think the context given for why the deja vu takes place is definitely a pretty clever way of handling the aspect of a requel, something that I would actually like to see more often, to be honest. Scream has always had a satirical take on the horror genre, with plenty of examples to give for self-awareness in a slasher film. These guys don't just want another Stab sequel, they want a story which retells the events of the first movie, but in a continuous format. So only way to accomplish that is, well, copying what the individuals who started it all did to make the very first film they like possible. The beginning is a nice drawback to that of the 1990s classic, but isn't shot for shot. It even takes advantage of the film coming into 2020s with the very first victim using Google to answer the question she didn't know the answer to. Like, I was thinking to myself in the theater, they better take advantage of this, or I swear to God, because this isn't the 90s anymore. But even with Google's nearly limitless access, they still found a way to build suspense off it since there were questions she thought she knew but got too cocky. Which I think a lot of us been in her shoes before. Not with the fucking killer, mind you, but petty shit. It still keeps the comedy horror nature of the original that offers more than enough pop culture references to satisfy any fan. I think one of the things that separates Scream from the traditional slasher, with the exception of Ghostface being just some douchebag in a Halloween costume, is the concept of taking itself serious enough, but still knowing what it is and having fun with it. The jab at the more dated aspects of the original through Stab, I personally liked, as it poked fun at the more 90s feel, without shitting on them either. It's more in the vein of lighthearted humor that shows love for them, and if anything, it also is kind of a jab at certain modern-day audiences who's overly picky at old-school media. The film is self-aware that it's a requel, and it makes no effort to hide that, because it's handled in a way where it feels fun, nostalgic, but new to avoid predictability. I love the point they roast themselves for just sharing the title of the first movie through Stab 8. We were all thinking it before the film came out, and even the movie itself knows it's ridiculous, but clearly they aren't tight asses about it. But now I'd like to get in some poorly done aspects of the story, as for all it does right, there is quite a bit of bad you'll discover watching Scream 2022. Samantha reveals everything to her sister much too early in the movie, since we see it on one scene demonstrated in her mind that had decent suspense, but only moments with next to no chemistry with her, she dumps all this info not only on us, but her as well. You're meant to care, but it lacks enough depth to feel like anything more than a poorly developed plot twist. I'm kind of sick of the up and down relationship with Gail and Dewey. It worked the first time when they broke up and got back together, but doing it again comes off as redundant and you begin to stop caring. I can take different people going after the same individuals in the same damn costume and voice changer over and over again. It's the franchise formula, so I can look past that. That is one thing, but repeating the same character arcs, even if it is slightly different, takes you out. Some of the dialogue in between character interactions are pretty questionable in themselves. The killer's motive is cringeworthy. They clearly were doing the whole fans who don't like our shit bad when it's often constructive criticism. I appreciate they took actual antagonization of fandoms to give them a reason that wasn't repeated in old school movies, but it's so in your fucking face, I can't stand it. I get it, some fans are obnoxious, but these lines don't feel like actual words toxic fans would say. It sounds like what some whiny filmmaker on Twitter thinks they say. I can't take these fuckers seriously anymore. That one cunning bastard that made the stakes super high is now a whiny little bitch. As for the characters, aside from a few rushed pieces I'll happily get into soon, the use of the original crew was good, and I was happy to see them again after all these years. I'd be lying if I said the chemistry between Dewey and Gale wasn't good on screen together, that they didn't still love each other, because they do, and you get that feeling. But the problem is, it's a reused concept, and due to that, it doesn't feel real. I'm okay with cliches, but my issue here is it was done a lot better in other works, and this one is pretty much lacking the time to get you properly invested in it. I will, however, compliment Dewey's growth as a character from the fun officer he was in his prime to a mature, and to an extent, stubborn old man, as it's reasonable he would after the hell he already experienced multiple times. But again, he budges nearly instantly, so the film doesn't give him enough time to breathe to make a decision. But Dewey has matured enough to convince anybody he's not only aged, but has been to the same rodeo before and knows what's up. But doesn't stray too far from that fun officer we had in the older movies. Everyone else is nice to have. Gale and Sydney feel like old friends returning to memory lane, but at the same time, it's not hard to see their main purpose of existence is fan service over actual importance to the plot. The new cast, meh. Samantha's connection to Billy was a fascinating plot point I wanted to learn more about, as it understandably set her crazy. Melissa Barras? I think that's her name? Her performance is not good. The scene she's running from the killer, she's just, "Someone help me, he's trying to kill me." It sounded more like she was trying to hold off laughter rather than being terrified. It was half-baked at best, and honestly, it kind of took me out of it. And the fact that this is kind of at the first act of the movie, you do get a bit of an idea what you're getting into with her character. To her credit, she does come to terms with the trauma she had being the daughter of a deceased serial killer, but other than that, she's a dollar store Sydney at best. Rest of the cast are pretty much just by the numbers. They have the horror tropes to leave in the satirical nature, Mindy was fun, I guess, and Jasmine Savory Brown fit the role. The new killers seem badass for a while, but when you find out who they are and what drives them to do all this shit, dear God! I completely understand that a persona is meant to be cooler than the individual behind it, but when you realize how stupid and annoying their actual personalities are, it takes away from what you felt prior. The horror is balanced very well with the satirical stuff, so it's refreshing for whenever laugh you get. There's gonna come something extremely mean-spirited soon. When a film wants to be intense, it does. The killer's is cunning and manipulative to play mind games with the victim's family in the process. Which, however, leads to a completely different turn of events you are expecting, making for a gut punch of a situation. As for the kills, each one is done with special effects in the best ways the filmmakers could accomplish. When the Ghostface killer stabs one of the characters in the throat, I'm not gonna say who it is, but man, when you're seeing that, how the knife just connects to the flesh and the overall damage it causes, you're like, God damn! To be honest, this might be the most cunning Ghostface has been, since correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember the killer playing mind games to the extent of this one. He makes people choose between two loved ones or even themselves or that individual. It brings a whole new amount of intensity to the horror aspect. The modern day pop music to advertise, well, certain singers, that's in pretty much everything these days. I did not like it at all. But, to its credit, it did work with the moment of the movie. But I did prefer when it went back to the pop punk stuff, because not only do I actually like pop punk, it also brought back that late 90s to early 2000s feel that the originals had. So, like the movie itself, it made for a good drawback. Scream is a solid sequel that retells the story of the first one in all of franchise fashion. It isn't perfect, but it's not the woke garbage some of these crazy anti-SJWs try to paint it as. I'd recommend going to see it, or at least sitting at home to watch it on Vudu, Paramount Plus, or anything like that if you got any enjoyment for the series whatsoever. No, I'm not talking about that piece of crap TV show. So I'm gonna award Scream a solid 7 out of 10 stars. Anyway, that was it for this episode. Please comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video, smash that like button, share it around, and subscribe. Please make sure to smash that bell for notifications to keep up to date on all my future content. Also, check out my social media accounts and alt tech. Links are in the description below. And also go and check out my buddies at Anteiku. They are very helpful, and overall, they have a lot of cool groups and pages that I think, if you are a fan of anime and other nerdy stuff, that you'll enjoy. This is Gojin the Makai Phantom, leaving the building.